位来到全球首档无语别青年演讲节目。Distinguished audience, welcome to the world's first multilingual youth talk show, Hey the Word!
疫情来袭，4万2000多名医护人员驰援武汉，400万社区工作者坚守阵地，他们的血肉之躯筑起了抗疫的防护长城。建筑工人、外卖员、快递员、卡车司机，各行各业平凡而可爱的他们，用行动展示了特殊战场上的朴实坚守。海外爱国华侨、国际友人守望相助，一股股力量急剧汇入整个中国。没有人生来就是英雄，总有人用平凡成就伟大。我是陆丽文，我与世界说。
Hello everyone, I'm Lu Liwen, one of the ordinary medical staff who got involved in the fight against the new coronavirus pandemic in China. In Chinese characters, the word person, 人, is made of two strokes, 撇 and 捺. The meaning behind this word goes beyond a standing person. It also means supporting each other. And the two strokes form a stable triangle with the earth. In China, people can unite and work as one, and because of this, we have successfully inherited and developed the Chinese civilization for 5,000 years. In 2020, the COVID-19 breakout. And China was the first nation to face the large-scale outbreak. On January 20, 2020, the Chinese government launched a resolute battle to prevent and control its spread, putting people's lives and health in top priority and doing everything possible to hold up the spread of the epidemic. 3 days later, Wuhan was locked down. 7 days later, the premier arrived in Wuhan and chaired meetings at the head of the Central Leading Group for Novel Coronavirus Pandemic Prevention and Control. From top to bottom, China has entered an arduous battle against the novel coronavirus epidemic. Thanks to those great efforts, the number of the currently confirmed cases in mainland China has gone down to a few hundreds. Basically, the COVID-19 epidemic in China has been effectively controlled. How did we make these efforts? I believe that besides the positive action of the government, the vital key is the positive cooperation of every ordinary person, which made people fight the epidemic together. As a witness of the fight against the COVID-19 outbreak in China, I would like to share 3 anti-epidemic stories from my perspective. The first story is about Shao Xiangrong. Shao Xiangrong is a doctor. His parents and grandparents are all doctors. 18 years ago, Shao's father, Dr. Shao Jianming, rushed to the front line to fight SARS. On February 2nd, 2020, just after Lunar Chinese New Year's Eve, Shao Xiangrong joined the Jiangsu Provincial Aid to Hubei medical team and arrived at the Wuhan Tongji Hospital, one of the worst hit area at that time. One day, they urgently received a patient with severe respiratory distress who needed immediate endotracheal intubation. However, the airbag must be ventilated before intubation. During the operation, the doctor must be in close contact with the patient's head. Each time the artificial airbag was pressed, a large amount of virus-containing aerosol will be ejected from the patient's respiratory tract. The risk of this surgical infection is extremely high. At that time, Dr. Shao Xiangrong did not hesitate and rushed over, pressing the airbag, intubating the tube, and connecting the invasive ventilator. The entire operation was done in one go. and they ultimately saved the patient's life. Later, many people call him a hero, but Xiao answered with this saying, "Doctors' devotion and care brings healing, comfort, and hope." After 71 days of staying in Wuhan, the Jiangsu Medical 18 of Hubei province did not have any medical staff infected. They helped Wuhan fight the epidemic. They succeeded. Like Dr. Xiao Xiangrong, there are 42,000 medical staff in China who assisted Wuhan. There are many young people born in the 95s and even 2000s. Although at first they may be hesitation and fear in their eyes, but the war against the epidemic has started. As a professional medical staff, they put on protective clothing and went to the battlefield without hesitation. They are the most common doctors and nurses around us. The second story I would like to share with you is about an anti-epidemic fighter named Gao Zhixiao. In the early stage of the epidemic in China, the pause button was pressed. Factories were suspended and the schools were closed. To control the spread of virus and overcome the epidemic, millions of Chinese people rely on a developed grassroots management system. It requires checking body temperature and health QR code at primary checkpoints, and conducting medical investigations on suspected cases of fever and cough. Thousands of medical staff quarantined at home, and the takeaway riders took a sudden and heavy burden, facing the highest risk of infection other than doctors. 3 million delivery riders took the responsibility of contactless takeaway deliveries in an orderly manner throughout the country, while taking the initiative to take the role of human care. Gao Zhixiao is one of them. On March 19, 2020, the cover of Time magazine released the anti-epidemic group portrait. The takeaway rider, Gao Zhixiao, was the only Chinese face on the cover. When seeing the cover of Time magazine, Xiao said he hoped to radiate a small amount of power through himself and demonstrate Chinese people's cohesion and creativity to the world. Gao Zhixiao has his own dedication and perseverance in the takeaway rider career. He said that from the country's epidemic prevention guideline, he and his colleagues learned how to protect themselves and avoid infection. Therefore, they now feel much safer to stick to their posts. Similarly, cleaners, taxi drivers, supermarket cashiers, police officers, community workers, etc., all held fast to their position during the COVID-19 epidemic, maintaining the country's regular operation. Thanks to everyone who stuck in their posts, supporting and helping each other, the big ship of China can move forward smoothly in the fog. The third story is about a group of anti-epidemic fighters. Rongzi, a Singapore Chinese writer, is one of them. She motivated her family and began queuing for masks on January 23rd. A total of 145,000 medical surgical masks, 6,680 protective suits, and 1,000 goggles were purchased and donated to China. Domestic convenience store owners and restaurant owners are also in the group. Liang Qiwang, a convenience store owner in Haikou, Hainan, gave out more than 60,000 masks to the citizens for free in a restaurant in Panlong City, Wuhan. The shopkeeper's younger sister called on her parents and siblings and provided 700 to 800 boxes of lunch to medical staff in Jingyingtan and other hospitals every day. However, the majority of this group comes from every one of 1.4 billion Chinese ordinary people under the construction of a national public health emergency management. With the government's prompt response to the very first cases, people-centered instructions, positive advancement of the nationwide anti-epidemic mechanism, Chinese people are mobilized to stick to their daily health management and fight for the anti-epidemic victory. As an ordinary person, I took the baton of the fighting the epidemic, measuring the temperature at a highway checkpoint on chilly winter nights. In around 8 hours, more than 1,600 vehicles passed by. In the bitter wind, I wondered whom I was fighting for. When I saw the daily death toll of compatriots dropped from 1,000 increase to 0, I saw Chinese people supporting each other, and I wondered whom they were fighting for. When I saw bravery, perseverance, dedication, selflessness, enthusiasm, and justice in their countless soldiers, I finally got the answer. The COVID-19 epidemic is a war without gunpowder. All of us are warriors. What we have to defeat is not only the virus itself, but also discrimination, prejudice, selfishness, indifference, rumors, and fear. I believe I am not fighting alone. I can feel the strongest support from my country, and I can tell the 1.4 billion Chinese people standing firmly behind me. In the face of the epidemic, the Chinese people are in the same boat to weather the storm. In the face of the epidemic, China is willing to unite with the world to fight for the future and to build a human community with a shared future. As long as the virus has not been completely eliminated, we should fight together. There have been wars, viruses, earthquakes, and tsunamis in the history of mankind, but there has not been a complete failure. For this time, we believe we will win in the end. But every one of us has to fight. Fight for ourselves and fight for the victory. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lu, for giving us such amazing speech. And so, is there anyone have questions here?
Hello, doctor. My name is Abel. I'm from China Pharmaceutical University. I'm from Indonesia. I would like to know more about the differences of measures against COVID-19 between China and other countries. Could you please explain to us?
Wow, that's a very good question. That's what I really want to tell. I think the big difference lies in the views and actions on the epidemic. China's anti-epidemic strategy is try to eradicate and totally suppress the virus, but it's very hard, especially in the early beginning of the epidemic and when there is no special treatment or special medicine. The only way we can do, or the main measures we can take, is to totally cut down the transmission route. So that's why we can see the lockdown of Wuhan and the home quarantine and the early warnings of different area at different levels. And when it comes to action, I think these anti-epidemic measures things to be highly ordered and organized in China. And by widely advertising, everybody knows how to protect themselves and protect their families. Also, there are many special citizens and enterprises unite and work as one and giving fully support to the government's work. So that's why we can see the emerge of the big data, the smart diagnosis and treatment, and the health QR code. And nowadays, health QR code is very common, and you have to show your health QR code regularly, check your body temperature, even though you're just to go to hospital or taking a subway. These measures are very vital for us to prevent the COVID-19. Yeah.
Thank you.
EFM Maxwell, me free Ghana, me Adeo Hohai University. And I'm person bisa America na say yes them no Chinese for no so then I'm motive free or munche and omo hot is saying like when I want to say now share almost until then I'm free or much.
Yeah, thank you for your question. And I think in China, people are willing to follow the quarantine procedures and understand it because everyone wants to put an end to this fight as soon as possible. And also, I think it's very crucial for us to avoid the large-scale gatherings in order to hold up the spread of the epidemic. And also, a friend of mine lived in Wuhan during the quarantine and staying with his families for almost 2 months. At the very beginning, they did have panic. However, they did brought warmth and companion because they have more time to enjoy family time and learn some skills, read books, and etc. Yeah. So actually, in China, staying at home is not totally isolated. The community workers would make sure that everybody get their food and supplies, and the community doctors will make sure that everybody was in good condition. So actually in China, staying at home is much more like a choice rather than a sort of punishment. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Akram. I'm from Yemen. I'm a student of Nanjing First Year University. My question is, according to the news, many Chinese have taken the COVID-19 vaccine. So what are the Chinese attitude toward the vaccine? Is it positive or healing?
Thank you for your question. Actually, Chinese people are willing to take the vaccine. It's definitely positive. And as a vaccinator, I get many calls every day about the appointment for vaccines because Chinese people embrace more confident and reliant on the vaccine and helps to prevent the virus through vaccination, comparing to exposing themselves in the risk. After inoculation or the vaccination, there is no adverse reaction. So Chinese vaccine is very safe and effective.
Okay, thank you.
And I believe the Chinese vaccine will definitely make more contributions to the world. Yeah, thank you so much for we can have Dr. Lu today. The past year also bore witness to the enormous resolve and encourage of people around the world in battling the deadly coronavirus. Guided by science, reason, and the spirit of humanitarian, the world has already achieved initial progress in fighting COVID-19. And we really want to thank you to all the ordinary people who have made outstanding contributions in this fight. We pay great respect to them. And that said, the pandemic is far from over, so that we must carry on the fight. So there is no doubt that humanity will prevail over the virus and emerge even stronger from the disaster. Thank you so much.
I've always been trusting the China, especially with how they handle the pandemic. So listening to the speech, it convinces me that I feel safe, especially with how Dr. Lu explains about the vaccination and how also the Chinese citizens take it so well.
មានទំនុកចិត្តលើប្រទេសចិនក្នុងការផលិតវ៉ាក់សាំង COVID-19 នេះហើយខ្ញុំអាចជឿជាក់ថាប្រទេសចិននឹងអាចយកឈ្នះគ្រប់ទាំងបញ្ហារួមទាំងវិបត្តិជំងឺ COVID-19 នេះផងដែរ
他在当中提到的是 Time 上面一个中国的面孔外卖小哥的出现，然后我觉得这是一个世界对我们中国在疫情中做出的各种措施的一个肯定。
In China, people can unite and work as one, and because of this, we have successfully inherited and developed the Chinese civilization for 5,000 years.
En China se dice que 3 personas forman un grupo y entre todos se establece la Gran Muralla.
Именно благодаря нашей поддержке друг другу и совместной работе мы прошли через 5000 лет китайской цивилизации.